All right, back on the Sports Show with Woody and Les, and Mark Kiszla joining us today with more guests coming up in just a little bit. Yesterday, George Karl came back home with the Sacramento Kings, played the Denver Nuggets, and they didn't do anything special for George. It was his first appearance back since the Nuggets fired him a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. Were you surprised that there was nothing special going on at Pepsi Center for George?
There are hard feelings between George and Josh Kroenke, but, I mean, come on. And I'm not as big a violin player for George Karl as a lot of people are. George Karl got himself fired. Make no mistake about that. You don't lose in the first round of playoffs and then say, hey, boss, give me a raise. That's just stupid. But having said that, he did a lot of good for this franchise. He played an exciting brand of basketball. What would have it hurt to have a 3-minute or a 5-minute video tribute to George Karl? That would have been good.
The truth is, we both felt like it was time for George to move on. In retrospect, would it have mattered if he'd stayed here? Yeah, they'd have gotten the playoffs, and they'd have lost to San Antonio, who's now moved up from 7th to... You notice how they just pushed their foot on the gas and went from 7th and then are now 2nd? A lot of teams that were just going, oh, we're going to get them at home. No, you're not. You're not going to get them at home. I wanted George to stay with the organization, and that's what I wrote. We both agreed that it was time for him to move on as coach. So you can blame us for our suggestions, but I wanted him to be in the front office, and I felt like he had earned that right.
So you think they should have celebrated him more yesterday?
But in regard to yesterday, well, we were setting up the fact that he's gone, and we thought it was the right move at the time. There were better coaches out there, and they didn't hire one of the better coaches out there. But yesterday, Mike Shanahan returned here. There were hard feelings between the Broncos and Mike Shanahan, really hard feelings, because they paid him for 3 years, or paid him a lot of that money that was owed to him, and that fell apart. There were,
but they still ran a video tribute when he
Don
came back.
Baylor, yeah, Don Baylor left here, and they tributed him. They fired him and ran him out of town. That was such a classless move. It's just classless. That's what they got going on over there, is classless. 14,000 people, if that indeed was the number yesterday, and that's a lie. The big lie continues, but that was a lie. But those people went out for one reason yesterday.
See George.
To say goodbye to George properly, because
Right.
he didn't get said goodbye to. Everybody said goodbye to George. The media, the fans, the concessionaires, everybody got to say goodbye to George, except 2 groups. Management didn't want to say goodbye to him. We're not going to say goodbye to him. Hell with it. We'll introduce him and go. And as the guy does, the PA guy, I don't know his name, but he says, the coach for the other team, George Karl. All right, let's go. Now let's start the fireworks. Get it straight. Ty Lawson. Oh, such a great guy, Ty Lawson. Let's start the fireworks. And George Karl is coach. Because you know that's what they do. There you go. And they start saying, Tim
You're talking about the introductions of the starters.
Yeah, Tim
I
Duncan.
think Woody should be the PA announcer at the Pepsi Center, at the can.
And
Be the
the
translator.
senator for the Spurs is Tim Duncan. Okay, let's go. You know that's the
Need
truth.
subtitles.
You know that's true. I'm not. So that's one group, and the other group is the
fans.
No, that didn't honor him. Are the people who are on the payroll. I'm talking about the announcers. There's one today that's saying today, well, no, you can maybe in 2 or 3 years when he comes back. He may not be around for 2 or 3 years. Anyway, you got to understand. Anyway, no, I don't have to understand that. You apologist, you wacky apologist. Gosh, we know it must be tough to go through life where every day of your life, if you say one word, you're going to be fired. Like, oh yeah, if they should have honored George Karl yesterday, which is the only answer to that. No, you can't say that because Stan Kroenke will fire your butt and replace you with another cheap guy. So, yeah, that's fine. So the media, you think the guys on TV yesterday or the guys on radio had anything about, they should have honored George Karl Day. No.
Well, I didn't listen or watch. I was at the Rockies game. But I will say this. I disagree with you somewhat. I would have proposed a compromise here. Think about the game he came back for. There are 3 games left in the regular season. The Nuggets are a dog team. The Kings are a dog team. There's nobody in the stands. So you do a tribute to George Karl, but nobody's there. I frankly think George...
The attendance was 14,000.
That's what it said in the paper. If you saw the stands, there weren't 14,000 people there. And I asked some people who were there. They said there might have been 8,000 or 9,000, okay? I would propose...
Why did that 8,000 or 9,000 come? For George?
Maybe.
You don't. So you
They paid a lot of money for
honor
the
George
tickets,
not
too.
for George, but for the 9,000 people that actually did show up.
Here's what I would have
because
done.
they wanted to say goodbye.
I
to
would have
George.
waited until the beginning of next year, when a little more time has passed and the stands are more full because it's a new season and more people are
makes you
interested.
think they're gonna be more full?
Nobody, because they're going to get a high draft pick, and I think they're going to make some very aggressive moves this offseason and have
Well,
a
the
nicer
first-
roster
the
than
first
this year.
is to get rid of the center coach.
I think George deserves
That's the next move.
I think George deserves better, and I think the beginning of next season, because the Kings are going to be here at least a couple of times,
True.
and they'll probably be here in the first half of the season. George
True.
deserves a warmer welcome back and a little bit more of a ceremony, maybe a video tribute, and I think they could have done that at the beginning of next year, and I think they still could. But yesterday, nobody gave a damn. Nobody was there. Nobody cared.
Did you sign
Woody
a deal?
cared.
Did you sign a deal with Cruising 950? I mean, are you?
No.
What are they
No.
doing
I
on
mean,
Cruising
I
950?
don't agree with 2 or 3 years down the road.
We'll get
but I
back to the oldies right after the Nuggets
But
game.
I think early next year would have been good. I think that would
No,
have been
you are
good.
so wrong. How about you? Should they have?
They should have honored him yesterday
Thank you.
because it's
See.
the first time back and it's
Nobody
the right
would have
thing to
seen
do.
it. Nobody was there. Come on.
It would have been, but it would have been on
him something
every.
more- give him
It would have been
something
on
more
every
substantial.
TV station. It would have been in the paper. It would have been. Yeah, do it.
That before the game, Mike Shanahan comes back and they go, "We're going to do a tribute to Mike Shanahan." You don't think that was nice?
There's no
It was
wrong
very
time
nice.
to do a nice
It
thing,
was
and
nice
McLean
and it
tribute
was
to him would
classy,
have been a
but
nice
there were
thing.
also 75,000 people in the stands to see it. There were 8,000 or 9,000 people there yesterday to
Who
see
went
it.
to see George?
You know, I'll
being
tell you,
saluted?
I'll tell you who went. All the season ticket holders who don't give a damn about the Nuggets anymore gave their tickets to somebody else. Those people who don't normally go to Nuggets games, that's who was at the game. They weren't there to see George.
Well, and they didn't go there to see the Nuggets because the Nuggets stink and they do stuff like this. Oh, and Coach George Karl. Now let's go to Rocky. Rocky, come down. Oh, he's hanging up there.
I still think Woody should be the PA announcer at the Pepsi Center.
Starting at forward. You
You
love
need
him.
subtitles. All right.